Hello YouTube fans, here again. Now I've not done Boost for a bit, and as you see my light's a little bit shit. Do get the new light eventually added, but it is what it is at the moment. I've not done that, I was about to say, I've not done Boost Leaf for a bit, and I've done the Chatty Kids, why not? Woozy, that being Fist of Fury. Say that again, Fist of Fury. Now, after the big success of the Big Boss, the next film Bruce Lee was going to do, was going to be his second film, was going to be, there he is, Fist of Fury. Funny thing is, in other states, it was called the Big Boss, and I think in America, could be right and wrong here, it was called the Chinese Tenetsu. That's right, the Chinese Tenetsu. Again, done by Golden Artist. Now, it's kind of the same, really, and it's kind of sad, really. What I mean by sad is, show the truth, got it. Right? What I mean by sad is he never got to do any more films like this, based on the olden times. As we all know, he sadly passed away. And I do know Taki Tan in his heyday did a lot of films, when it was based on the olden times and all this. It's kind of the same really, because Fist of Fury, as we know, was based on the olden times. Yeah, it was based on the olden times. And it's to do with him visiting his teacher, right? Pardon me dog barking. But it's to do with him visiting his teacher, and he finds out his teacher's died. But you find out halfway through the film he hasn't just died, he got poisoned. He got murdered. There's a bit of history in this, and I don't want to make woo off up in free and all this, but it's history. It's history, right? That China and Japan didn't get along. China and Japan, like Hong Kong and China, so they say, did not get along. It was almost a war at one point in China and Japan. So you've got, like, I think it could have been the Chinese trying to make war with the Japanese at the time. But this was due with, I know myself here, it's to do with the Chinese martial arts school. You've got one cult, so it basically wants the others to fuck off. In other words, leave the stool. And they pick and they bury him. And as I say, Bruce Lee goes to visit his teacher to find he died. He went to just to see the teacher's funeral, and he goes a bit apey, and one of the bosses has no option but to twat him and knock him out. It starts off with a bit of music, and then it starts off with him meeting his girlfriend. And you kind of feel sorry for the Chinese, because they do get picked on a lot in this by the Japs. They get picked on a lot. But Bruce Lee gets so pissed off with it, he goes to their stool, gets a sign what they sent him, which says Chinese are weak, diffs it on back, and he batters them all. He batters them all. And this is the one where Bruce Lee, for the first time, gets his nunchuckers out. There they are, if you can see them, because it's a bit dark. He gets his nunchuckers out, and he's twatting them, and he's whacking them, and he's whacking the legs, and he's whacking the heads, he's whacking everything on them. And I love it. I love it, especially now, because when it was on video and I first had this on video, it was cut. It was heavily cut. Like most of the scenes where Bruce Lee, most of his films, where he used the nunchuckers, were heavily cut. They were heavily cut. You do get one Russian guy in it who does plays a Russian. He's been on that a few of Bruce Lee's films. There's a funny bit where he's bending bars. You can see the bars made out of fucking plastic. It's all obvious. You can see the effect. But, it is what it is. And basically, Bruce Lee's getting his revenge on the ones who basically he's starring on, or starring the stool. And the Chinese get pissed, they go to the stool and they literally batter all the people and think, well, they know martial arts, why don't we just do martial arts back? But there's a danger for them, they get the shit kicked out of them. But basically, it's one of them, Bruce Lee just wants to get his revenge. There's bits in it where they're just trying to make Bruce Lee a little bit evil. But if you think he's evil, look at some of the things that they do in it. They're just as evil. And he doesn't just find that out. No. He doesn't just find that out. He also finds out that these bastards were the ones who actually killed his teacher. There was two Chinese guys, right, pretending to be Japs, right? I think the Japanese might be Chinese. And the thing is, right, remember when I did You Only Live Twice, the Bond film? There's a scene where it mentions saving the chest. And they do. Chinese saves the chest. I get confused here with the Tulsa. And that's where they make a fuck up. And Bruce Lee says, so, you Chinese. And he batters them both, kills them both. He leaves a note to the I-1 what's happened. And like I say, he has a Durr friend on the way. And this Durr, very pretty Durr in that era. She's been in almost every one of the Bruce Lee films. But it's about the Bruce Lee films she was in. And like I say, you've got the high-up boss of these villains, this total evil bastard. He's getting pissed off at this point because Bruce Lee's killing all the villains one by one. And this is where he becomes an evil bastard. He sends all the Chinese, not just to beat the people in the stool, but to literally beat them to death. I don't mean just batter them, I mean literally beat them to death. And when you think about it, it's a ballsy film, this, because they do get battered to death. You don't see it, it's off stream, but you think it's going to be a happy ending, you think Bruce Lee's going to come to the rescue. No, doesn't happen that way. There's a bit where he does disguises, he pretends to be an electrician and all this, and some of it does look a bit comedy. You know, he's got a tap on and he's pretending to be a bit stupid, Bruce Lee, and he's pretending to be a phone electrician who fixes electric and all this. But, you know, I don't mind it what it is. You know, there's a bit where you feel sorry for the chaps because he's going to a park. You know, it's just a park. And it says a sign, no dogs allowed. But you've got these posh people, this Indian guy let the woman walk a dog. Don't practice those Bruce Lee, no, you're not going in, no taps are not allowed. And he says, well, what about that? And he actually says to his Indian guy, you're the one colour, so beat it. I'm thinking, what? How's that for racist? These chaps walk in and they basically take the piss out of Bruce Lee. They say, well, tell you what, pretend to be a dog and we'll let you in. Naturally, Bruce gets pissed off, twats them and batters them, and rightly so. And then he does a one-off. But, like I say, he goes in, he wants to get his revenge because they killed his cheatser. And he kills this big guy, he's one of the high-up ones. The bit where he's having an epic sword fight, Bruce uses a double move, the sword goes in and stabs the fucker. Then he goes after the main villain. I almost forgot he just fight the Russian guy, but I love to see where he uses a martial art move, rams him across the throat there, chokes him out, rightly so, kills the fucker. Again, another cut scene where Bruce Lee uses the nunchucker, whacks the main villain, and knocks him through the window and kills him. Now, I do know this was the first time that Bruce Lee met Jackie Chan. That's right, Jackie Chan, believe it or not, is in Fist of Fury. And I do know he did appear in sort of like a follow-up to Fist of Fury called The New Fist of Fury. It's basically just a Bruce Lee rip-off. You know, this was the time we had all the people imitating Bruce Lee. But I'll talk about that another time. But the scene where Bruce Lee knocks the die out the window, that was actually Jackie Chan. He did that stunt. How he made his living with Jackie Chan before he made it big. He used to be an actor in films. He used to do his own stunts, like he did in his later career. And he did the stunt when he got flung through the window. Bruce Lee was that impressed that he walked up to Jackie Chan afterwards and said, you know what? One day you're going to be famous. And how funny that is. Because Jackie Chan, as we all know, did become famous. But yeah, he goes to the stool and you see the aftershots of what the Chinese did. They killed all the Japanese people. They're all bodies everywhere. You don't see it too gruesome, but you get this sock of Bruce Lee's face when he goes through the window, the aftershots of what may have happened, you know, the bodies and all that. And it often must be that bad to see the sock of Bruce Lee's face. So, you know, I kind of respect the film for that. It's bitty balls there, but the only bit what fucking pisses me off is the police go to arrest Bruce Lee, just like they did in The Big Boss. And he goes and dips himself in because he's this guy all the way through the film. He's sort of like, you know, he's sort of like a sheriff. And he tells Bruce Lee the best thing to do is to turn yourself in. So he goes and does the right thing, even though I never understood why. He didn't kill all his own people. So he turns himself in. You've got these people like fucking something out of a Danster film, all duns. He runs off steam. You get a bit of music. Bruce Lee goes, "Hi-ya!" and it pauses with Bruce Lee jumping in the air. You get like dun sound effects of people shooting. And you get the idea he's got shot and his character's got killed off steam. So they're trying to do like the Sundown Kid. Remember the movie? Sundown Kid? They're trying to do that where he passes the camera, you got Bruce Lee passing, you know, doing a leg kick. You get the sound effects, bang, 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 bang. And you got the idea he's got shot and he's got killed. He got killed. And that pisses me off. Because when you think about it, all the shit he went through, all his mates got killed, and he gets shot at the fucking end. That you don't see it, like I say, the time the pauses with him in the air, and you got the music. But it's the fact that he gets shot at the fucking end. He gets shot. That to me pissed me off more than the big boss where he got arrested. But the fact that the character got killed, that is, it doesn't really piss me off as much as Fist of Fury 2, which came out back, I think, in 1980. Which does starred a Bruce Lee imitator, well known, called Bruce Lee. You ever know who Bruce Lee was? Well, when Bruce Lee lost his life, as I already said before, you had a lot of Bruce Lee imitators, and one of the most well-known ones was an actor called Bruce Lee. He always did a lot of Bruce Lee imitation films. I don't mind Bruce Lee, you know what I mean? He does a really good imitation of Bruce Lee. It's not him. He's not the problem of the film. The only problem was it was a 4-1-2 Fist of Fury, and it made everything what he fought in number one fucking pointless. So if I ever do that, it will be a rant. But Fist of Fury, apart from the silly ending where he gets killed, it's still a good film. Bruce Lee does do a lot of good martial arts scenes in it. You can definitely see why he's considered the legend. He definitely does a lot of good martial art movements. I love the scenes where he uses the nunchucker, which sadly, as we know, when video was cut out. Happy to say now you can see it in its uncut form. So other than that, I like Fist of Fury. I like it that much. It's a classic. So into then, I do more movies, more movie reviews. Into then, I'll see you soon.